I'm Brian Oakley with LS Tractor. I'm the in-house service manager here at Brattleboro. We're going to be going over the MT225E and your pre-operation maintenance inspections. So we're going to start our pre-operation inspection in the engine bay. So to be able to get in there, we're going to have to open the hood. Your hood release is located at the front passenger side. You just move it forward, you'll hear it release, and then you're good to open the hood. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the oil level in the 225E here. The dipstick is located on the passenger side. It is painted white, so it's a little easier to see. The first thing that you want to do is you want to clean out any dirt or debris that may be around the stick. That way you don't get that down inside your crankcase. So what you want to do is just go ahead and pull that stick out, wipe it clean for the first time, and then you're going to reinsert it back into the tube. And then pull it back out. Now we can check our level, and we want to make sure that it falls between the lower and upper notch. After that, you can put it back in and you're good to go. Okay, so next we want to look at our fuel filter, which is located on the passenger side. We want to check that bowl and make sure that we have clear, clean fuel. If there's any sort of debris or contamination in there, we're going to want to change that out and flush the tank. The other thing that we want to look while we're here is our coolant level. We should be between the low and full mark on our reservoir. And then further, just inside here is where our air filter is located. There's a cap that we're going to remove. It's got 2 spring clips on it, and then we can go ahead and pull out our air filter. And what we want to look at here is to make sure that this is nice and clean. If there's any debris or dirt, you can always take it, kind of smack it on the ground a little bit, get any of the excess dirt out there. You can also take compressed air. You want to limit it to about 72 psi, and you want to blow from the inside out. If you blow from the outside in, you're just pushing any dirt or contamination that's in the filter further into the filter. So you always want to blow it in inside to out. So the next thing that we want to look at is our battery. We want to check our connections. We want to make sure that they're good and tight. And we want to make sure we don't have any corrosion build up or damage to the wires. We also are going to want to look at the battery itself. Make sure that it's not cracked, busted, leaking, anything like that. Then we're going to move to our radiator screen, and we're simply going to take these 2 wing nuts, 1 and 2, take those loose. This screen is going to slide out. We want to make sure that it's not stopped up with dirt, mud, debris, chaff, anything like that, and just clean this out. The only thing you need to do is get a garden hose, blow the water from the radiator side out into the screen itself. That's going to clear it up. We can put the screen back in, put our wing nuts back on, and we're good to go. So moving over to the driver's side of the 225E, first thing we want to look at is going to be the amount of oil in the front axle. To be able to check that, you're going to find a plug that is painted white right here on top of the axle. You're going to unscrew that, and once you get that out, you're going to see a dipstick. Just wipe that off, stick it back in, thread it all the way back down. And it's important when you're checking this that you're on level ground as well. So we can pull that back out, and we can see that our oil level falls within the crosshatch section of the dipstick, and as long as we're in there, we're good to go. So we can reinstall that. Now on the passenger side of this axle, you're going to see another blue plug over there. That's just a breather cap, so that allows the axle to breathe. You don't actually check your oil level there. So the next thing we want to do on the 225E is we're going to want to grease all of our grease points. The loader is going to consist of most of those grease points. You can refer to your manual for these, but most of them are going to be here in your pivots. You're going to see the little grease certs here. On the tractor itself, you're going to find a few in a couple different places. So on your steering cylinder back here behind your tire, you're going to see one, and then on the back side of that steering cylinder, you're going to see a second one. And then on your front axle trunnion up there, you're going to see one more on the front that's going to point straight towards the front of the tractor. So we're going to want to make sure we hit those. Once we have all of our grease grease points lubricated, we're going to move on to our wheels and tires. We're going to want to check condition of the tires, make sure we don't have any large gaseous cuts, were properly aired. And then the main thing we want to look at here is going to be the wheel bolts and the lug nuts. We want to make sure that those are all good and tight and that we don't have anything loose. A good indication of one of those being loose is you might see a little rust trail coming down from one. So it's a good idea to just kind of keep an eye out on those. Make sure that we don't damage our wheel. And then we also want to look at the loader mounts itself. And we're going to check all of our bolts that secure our loader to our tractor. Make sure that all those are good and tight. So the next thing we want to check on the 225E here is going to be our travel and our brake pedal. So this free play is really important. What we want to do is just manually with our hand depress the brake pedal until we feel a little bit of a resistance. And at that point, we want to measure how much travel we had there. Typically between 1 to 2 inches, no more than 2 inches of free play there in the pedal, which this one looks good. If we have no free play here, we could potentially be dragging brakes at that point and cause a premature failure. So we want to make sure that we have that 1 to 2 inches there. The next thing we're going to do is climb into the driver's station. We want to check all of our lights, our turn signals, our hazards, our headlights, and all of our switches for safety. All right, so the next thing we want to look at is our ROPS here. We want to make sure that these ROPS are in the upright position. We never want to operate these tractors with the ROPS in the down or folded position. This is for safety. In case there is a rollover, you have protection, so always make sure that these are in the upright position. So the next thing we want to check is the fuel tank. We want to look for any cracks or damage to the tank itself. Make sure it's in good operating condition. Also look around, check for any sort of fuel leaks. Check our cap, make sure our fuel cap is secure. And then note as well that the SMV placard is normally mounted right here. That's your slow moving vehicle triangle. Anytime you're on the road, you need to make sure that you have that installed on the tractor. So next thing we want to look at is our 3-point linkage here. We want to make sure that all of this is secure, moves the way it's supposed to. There's no grease joints here, but we do want to make sure that there's adequate grease where needed for any of the pieces that are supposed to move. So make sure you check that out. Your PTO shaft itself, you always want to make sure that the shaft is undamaged. You don't have any torn splines, busted splines, missing anything. So you want to inspect that. And then also here is where you're going to find your transmission oil level dipstick. This is also your fill point. So if you need to top off fluid, this is the point where you do it. To check this, you're going to pull the dipstick out and wipe it clean. Okay, you always want to wipe it clean first because there could be suction on the system, so you'd get a false reading right there on the front. And also, before you check this, you want to make sure that your loader and everything is in the down position. Okay. If the loader is up, you've got fluid inside the cylinders that are elevating that loader. So you want to make sure that the loader is all the way down and all the fluid in those cylinders is back into tank. That way you don't get a false reading. So we're going to go ahead and stick that back in, pull it back out, and then we want to check our level and make sure that it falls between the two lines on the dipstick. We check good here, so we can go ahead and put that back in. And again, if we needed to top it off, we'd do so in the same port. So for me and all of us at LS Tractor, we appreciate you watching this video, just covering some of the basic maintenance needs for this MT225E. For any heavier disassembly, assembly, heavier maintenance, your 50-hour service, always refer back to your owner's manual for that information. Again, thanks for watching.